So a couple tips on Medussas. The three-tail action for these, it allows you to hang this bait a lot better, either over structure or when you're deeper. So for short pops and hops, that's one of my favorite ways to work them, and those fish will usually grab it right on that pause. A couple of things when you're throwing, if you are throwing over and landing on top of weeds, get the bait going, stop it right as soon as it hits the water. I'll start to pull back a little bit so that it doesn't sink a lot, and I'll snap it in upward motion when I know I'm going over structure. All right, as I'm coming down the structure, start to work it right down the break, and I'll add a little bit more time in between rips as I'm walking it down the break. That way the bait essentially stays in the bite zone the whole time. You're over the weeds, down the break, open water, open water. That's the best way to stay in the fish's zone, and it also garners the most strikes. It also keeps the bait free of weeds, and on those upward snaps, if you've got a lot of weeds on there, you can feel the contact with the weeds, it'll also sometimes incite strikes. Snapping it hard and upward, if you know you've got weeds on there, giving it a hard upward pop, like so, will usually free that bait of weeds, and again, sometimes that disturbance in the structure will also cause a strike. In a deeper water application, I'll often add a little bit of a sink time for it. If you're fishing over something like, say, sandgrass, a better application for this, especially with the three tails where it does take a little bit longer to fall than something with, say, a single tail, the Medussa is great because you get the hang time, and when you go for the longer rips like this, I'll give it a little bit longer to sink. Those longer rips, especially in clear water, typically translate into more strikes. You can short, pop it and hop it, but the more hops and pops you add in there, typically the higher in the water it stays. They do make a weight for the Medussa now that clips on underneath. They come in, I'm not sure on the size, I can't remember. There's a larger one and a smaller one. You take off the split ring, slide on the weight, put the split ring back over the top, and for those deeper water applications, that can also be huge. It'll also give you more of an arc on the fall, and if you're fishing over sandgrass, which is more like that 18 to 26 feet of water or so, and you're trying to get it down a little closer where the grass is, say, a foot or two tall, foot to 3 foot tall, you're down a little bit further, especially when the fish are holding a little bit lower in the water column. So that's one of the better ways to apply it in deeper water. When you've got fish that are super finicky, a lot of times the more rapid and aggressive you can get them going, you get the bait working, the better off you are. This is especially true in summer. Fall, you can slow it down a little bit more, and as far as in Wisconsin in particular versus other places that at least that I fish, Minnesota, Canada, a lot more of our fish, they like a nice hard snap in general for rubber, but Medussas in particular. That hard snap is more preferable to, say, something like a long pull like this, a long slow pull. Sometimes they'll follow it, a lot of times they'll also eat it, I guess, if you find the right fish, but typically a sharp hard snap is crucial to getting that fish to trigger.